All right, it's the 31st of October 2017. Tonight I'm going to be telling you all about how an alien-induced biblical prophecy of the end times, prophecy of your return of Jesus Christ and stuff like that, which actually it had to do with aliens. I'll explain that to you. But I think the whole thing is that they kind of get off on seeing us as some kind of thing that they're going to feed on and kind of get in our heads and screw with us and kind of, taunt us with what they're doing, but not be so open about it. I've had this experience with humans. With the acacia strain, they made their song Impaler, in which they told me they're wolves in sheep's clothing. And granted, all this stuff does happen once you reach that status of high priority targets. We'll call them that. So it's just basically a trap, okay? To explain it to you on the aliens' side, and pretty much on their side too, probably. But that's another subject altogether, and I go into that too. But what I want to say is that there's this tendency to, say what we're doing, but not really say what we're doing. So what they did was they gave me the revelations on, read the Bible, think about it. They basically let me know there was something to it. And when I say I know it was them, it was because I've had several close encounters with them. I hate to go through all the details, but one of them was whenever I was driving down this dirt road, or it was like a country road, and there was this light that came out of the sky. It was a yellow light, slowly started coming on and off, strobing on and off. I was singing this song, and I said the word stars, and it synced up with the mention of the word stars, and it happened at a direct angle right in front of me, as to where I could not mistake it as not. And we're talking, this thing came out of the clouds. It came out of the sky, blue sky, and it just slowly started strobing on and off. It looked exactly like this video, this CBS quote unquote exclusive, what they gave, in which they said that they showed the same thing that I saw. So anyways, that was one experience that I had, and then the Mexican Air Force video, we've seen those big lights falling around the where they released that publicly and everything. And then I had another one where it was later on, and it was where they were communicating with me again. One time actually they kept me from falling asleep on the highway. It's kind of a different story, but the thing about it is I don't think they're friendly like that. I think they would like to be perceived that way, but I think I'm supposed to do a bigger thing here. And basically, I don't know why they kept me from falling asleep on the highway, okay? They definitely did that. We can say maybe they're earning trust. This is all theoretical shit anyways, but the point of the story is that definitely happened. They lit up a cloud green. They didn't just come directly over me at that point. And there was another time where it was like what was it? It was it was oblong in shape. It was it was going through the air. It had a green flame behind it, and it lit up as I went underneath the toll booth. It lit up white over me, just to light up the whole highway, just basically saying hello to me, and then flew off faster than anything I've ever seen. And that was something that was documented by these flight recordings. These pilots had these experiences with where they saw this thing, and it was flying faster than anything they'd ever seen before. It had a green flame coming out the back of it, exact same description. Anyways, point of the story is this. And I've talked before where I've gone into how I think that had to do with more or less. It was like a show of force to me, because the night before I was basically getting all high with my friend, and I was talking about these aliens and shit, and we were just getting way too high, smoking blunts, blunts of marijuana. Oh shit, I had it facing the wrong way. Smoking blunts of marijuana and just, saying, man, these motherfuckers ought to give us a chance. We could probably help them. We're smart. because just something, because I couldn't fucking figure out why they show up and disappear. You know what I mean? I knew they were listening. That's kind of why I said it. And so I think the night after, it was basically a show for us to let me know that, hey, listen, you can't help us. You can't do shit for us. You know what I mean? And really, I think the whole thing, in hindsight, personally, think that the whole thing is based off of a system where they target me in order to identify me, let me know I've been identified as a person who meets the criteria of a person who might be resistant to tyranny, which is basically what they want, because they want us to die at a certain point. So my whole theory is basically based on the fact that a lot of these civilizations have just clashed over billions and trillions of years and gave rise to one really super species, quote unquote, that basically doesn't really exist in the context that we think of life existing. It more or less just, it basically just exists. It's basically just the instinct. It's basically just the instinct is all that's left. Like a spider, it weaves a big web. It doesn't think, you know what I mean? It doesn't have a mind or emotions like you or me, or have empathy or sympathy. It simply sets its web and does what it instinctively does. And so that's my theory on this. And so building up to that, basically how I got to that point, what I'll say about the biblical revelations of vapor of smoke, and how that really correlates to aliens, and then how I had that telepathic transmission with where they came into my head through the Xbox after I had another experience with the aliens, and they basically came into my head and told me, Tanner, they said, Tanner, we know everything. It's embarrassing. And it was this guy, Tanner, we know, I can't do his voice again. I did a pretty good impersonation in one of my videos. Tanner, we know everything. I can't do it. It was like an Italian guy. He just said, Tanner, we know everything. It's embarrassing. I couldn't, it's just hard for me to do an impersonation of him, but that's exactly what his voice, it's just, that was the tone of his voice, okay? And so the point of the story is that it's just, they did that because they went ahead and told me they were in there because, and let me build up to this first, okay? So on the vapor of smoke, all right, the biblical revelation of vapor of smoke, where Jesus said we're going to have visions of vapor and that of smoke. So what basically happened was I was sitting there, and I've had these close encounters with aliens, things that have been documented, other people have experienced them. It's not too bizarre to say it anymore, I don't think. But basically, I was sitting there, and I was kind of doing like some interfacing type stuff, and one of the videos I uploaded had to do with aliens, and I was just sitting there kind of like, I was just exhausted. I've been put through a lot. There was a lot of music coming out about me and a lot of hatred, being spewed about me, and just shit was being brought and put in my face of a really negative nature that really put me in a really bad place. And plus that, I really was having a hard time with everything. I mean, I had people following me around. I had death threats coming against me. It was just a bad scenario. So I was kind of hoping just that anything would help me, and it was just kind of a shot in the dark. But at that moment, something came into me, like a spirit. And I was marching. All of a sudden, I had all this energy, and I started strutting back and forth in the room, like I had just unbelievable amount of power over the universe, over everything. And it said, Tanner, I'm the king. It said, I'm the king. And then and then I heard these voices, and they go, Tanner, can you hear us? And I think it was the people that were spying on me, because there was people that were telling me that they were spying on me at the time. And they were coming through my phone and stuff. And so at that time, I think it might have been them, and they were just letting me see everything just as a display of power to me and everybody else, and them and everybody else, because I had done this thing publicly. You know, I got caught in the mouth, but I had posted this video out in the open. So the thing about it is that this could be a display of power to everybody, you know. So the thing about it is I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, okay, so as it's fading away, it's telling me to read the Bible and think about it, because I said, what do you want? What do you want? You know? And that's what it said. Well, not long after that, I had my vision with the vapor and that of smoke, where I was specifically sitting there, and I was trying to do this experiment on like meditation, you know, and I was like, if I meditate on power, I wonder if like something weird will happen, you know, because I had been doing so many hours of meditation. I'd been doing so much meditation at that time. I was basically just in a retreat. And so basically I sat there and I what was I saying? Yeah, so basically I focused on the power, and all of a sudden this ball of smoke came up in front of me, and the walls of the room literally started cracking and break, and like it didn't break or nothing, but it started to crack. The walls started to crack. Pop, 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 popping and cracking. Okay. The structure of the building. And this smoke ball came up in front of me, and it was vapors. I mean, it looked like vapor. That's all I can't hardly explain it, but it looked like vapor, but it whipped at the top. It came up like almost like an explosion in front of me, but it was pure vapor, and then it just whipped at the top. And so then I read the Bible, and I had all these realizations, and then it became a huge problem, because a lot of this stuff got ripped off. And you know, I actually ended up calling into the Alex Jones show and telling him, look, I had this crazy fucking vision. I shouldn't have even told him, because they probably thought I was fucking nuts. But the fucking thing is that then later I had the revelation that they then tried to co-opt, because that's kind of part of their thing. And so the thing about it is that if you use catchphrases, then he's going to try to use catchphrases but not ever put it in its pure message. So it's kind of his mission and the way he works. So I just find ways to work around it. Now it's not a big deal anymore. But the thing about it is that, so basically anyways, let's see, where was I at? So basically I then, you know, realized all this stuff about the hypocrisy and everything like that. And then, you know, that became a message that became such a big deal that, you know, the Acacia Strain even ended up making music about it. But yes, I did ended up lamenting everything to the Acacia Strain, probably just hoping they'll talk about it, because they talk about me so much. And you know, the thing about it is that at that time I hadn't even realized that they were telling me that they were wolves in sheep's clothing. Okay. So anyways, going on, I basically, you know, they made music about it. It was, I think, noteworthy. You know, I mean, the thing about it is that the message is definitely noteworthy enough for people who say that they're wolves in sheep's clothing to, you know, try to attack me over it, or try to, you know, make me commit suicide over it. I don't know. But the point of the story is that myself personally, I don't believe that they are trying to, you know, I don't believe that this is all a big thing where they're going to try to, you know, I don't think that they're trying to tell us that they love us or anything like that. I don't think that, you know, I don't think that, you know, this is all about, you know, when you talk about the end of the world and start talking about, you know, the end of the world and, you know, the return of Christ, and, you know, there's not going to be any more husbands and wives, I start thinking about, you know, and they're going to take people up into the sky. And geez, man, and some people are going to be brought back to life. I mean, I could imagine they can probably do that. They can probably find all the molecules and all the atoms and bring them back together. I mean, I've seen shit that it wouldn't surprise me, based on what I've seen. But so anyways, it just basically, god damn, to me it feels like a big weapon, big weapon system. And so at the end of this, I think that the whole thing of it is that I'm supposed to have this prophecy, and as the Bible says, a prophet is never welcome in his own country. There's this thing where they set you up, you know what I mean? Because I've been doing YouTube for a long time. I've documented stuff pertaining to, the internet shutting down over trillions of dollars and bailout money going missing, that was under the table, and just trillions. And, videos, Ron Paul on FEMA camps and all this kind of shit, that went viral. I didn't make the video, but it went viral on my channel. So, I mean, I don't know if that's the goal, is to paint me as a target. And then, and then the last thing that happened that caused me to say that, that caused the government or whoever is, controlling the Xbox to relay this telepathic message to me via some kind of fucking technology that I'm not aware of, that, hey, we're paying attention to this shit. You know what I mean? Because yes, they were there when the walls started popping and buckling and cracking. I know that. I know they were sitting there going, what the fuck was that? And so it's just, the last time they came to me, the last thing that happened was after they put out that song, people came for me, they tried to kill me. And I know for a fact, that later they made music where they said they called me a prophet and all this kind of shit, a prophet of doom or whatever. The thing about it is that the thing about it is that that's the same shit that sets people off. I mean, I have a really bad habit of whenever people start dropping dead around me and really weird shit starts happening, or people start trying to kill me, I start acting real bizarre. Sending really crazy emails to people in the media, and I went into some pretty bizarre shit. I always end up going into bizarre shit. I think it's like my instinct to, to just draw the attention of people who who might be able to stop or have some type of effect on my immediate future in terms of being alive. But the thing about it is that is something that I basically told people I feel like God's leading me in this direction, and because of intuition basically is what all it, in my opinion that it amounted to, which maybe shit, I don't know, maybe it had to do with fucking aliens too, I don't fucking know, but that set people off. That made people attack me. I think that in and of itself is an attack mechanism. It sets people off. When you come across and say, I've had a vision, and you're just a fucking you're one of the same people in the same country as they are, trying to put yourself above them maybe, But is that our instinct, or was that written into the Bible, as a way for us to become that way? I think that sometimes, because people, when it comes to religion, it gets crazy, man. I mean, we all know that. And so, a lot of the stuff that Jesus Christ came to resolve was created. A lot of those problems were created in the Old Testament. Talking about hitting people in the head with rocks, and if they're homosexuals or if they're prostitutes, well then Jesus Christ said, well, don't hit people in the head for being a prostitute. So why would you say do it and then come back later and say don't do it in the same exact, and so I've had some revelations, some prophecies, some verses, some things that I've said pertaining to, the Old Testament, some things that I've fulfilled in terms of biblical prophecy. Okay, talking about, I will open my mouth and shoot forth dark sayings of old, which you will carry forth to your, ancestors. And then, talking about he who knows about this does not speak, and he who speaks about this does not know. Being just really a word of advice regarding intuition and things of this nature. Of course, because you only do that when you're freaking out because everybody's dropping dead around you. You know what I mean? But then that fulfills that prophecy of the Old Testament for me to even be saying that. So I'm not saying that I'm Jesus, but the thing about it is that this is part of the mechanism. I'm fulfilling a prophecy right now. I'm putting a fucking target on my own back. Okay? Why would I do that? Because it's a system, motherfucker, and they're setting this shit up to fucking kill my ass. Do you understand that? That's the system. The system is designed for me to die. Okay? It's just a big mechanism to bring about my death. And so whenever they came to me and they told me I was Jesus Christ, okay? And bear in mind, there had been several attempts made on my life by this point. So as I see it, this is an escalation. How can I be Jesus Christ and be the prophet of Jesus Christ? How can I have the vision of the vapor and that of smoke and then become Jesus? Well, they had their own little way of trying to get around it, but it doesn't add up. And I'll tell you exactly what they said to me. They said, "Oh, Tanner, you are Jesus." And I said, "What?" And they go, "Didn't you see me coming down there?" And I said, "What?" And it said, "The love in your heart that grows with every passing day." See, that's something that something would say to try to paint itself whenever there's hardly nothing left. Because here's the thing. It's like Kevin Spacey saying he's gay after they brought sexual allegations against him, because the fucking fact of the matter is that they've already told me that I'm the prophet of Jesus Christ. It's just something, it's a way to paint yourself as goody, and I'm still an angel when you really know I'm full of shit. Okay? If you want to know the truth, I think that they're kind of starting to feel like this thing's starting to get exposed, and they don't want to be like putting this on me anymore. But then part of me says, no, this is part of it. This is part of it. Because the thing about it is that it's either part of it that I was supposed to die, or it's part of it that if I didn't die, this is what's supposed to happen, or it's part of it that I was not supposed to die, and they've allowed me to survive all this shit, which nobody should have been able to survive. Crazy shit. Where I turned all the lights out at 3 o'clock in the morning and walked out the back into the garage and said, "Here they come, guys," talking to the phone, because I knew there was somebody hacking my phone, because they've already showed me that, and then watched them come in my house. Where do I get the ability to do crazy shit like that? I don't know. It seems like it's beyond human. Okay? And the fact of the matter is that when you talk about them and what is the end goal of me being Jesus Christ, I will say that I think the whole thing of it is that I am never going to be believed. People are going to hear everything I've just said and put me in an asylum. Then, at that time, I am to believe that yes, I'm crazy and I am delusional, and that I have committed the only unforgivable sin in the claiming that I'm Jesus Christ. Because who the hell makes that an unforgivable sin? That's exactly what he said. A lot of people say it's committing suicide. It isn't. When they asked him, "Are you Jesus Christ?" he said, "Blasphemy against the Holy Spirit is the only unforgivable sin." Whenever he basically said that I'm an actor whom the Holy Spirit acts through. So he himself basically said that he's experienced the same thing that I am right now. Something is taking possession of my body and causing this shit to happen. No, I can't dream up smoke balls. No, he probably can't turn water into wine. What the fuck is going on with this? We don't know. Okay? But what I will say is this. Once I go to the fucking asylum, the next thing is that I'm going to sit there and be confused and think, I've committed some unforgivable sin. Really, I should have taken things in simplicity, as they've told me. And accept everything in simplicity. Do not think crazy shit like this. Do not, well, no, it's too far gone, but I think crazy shit like this, and so, it's never going to work because I'm too aware of what the whole system is, you know? That's what I think. But at the same time, I just want to let you know that this is what I think is the system, you know? So basically, I believe that I'm in hell once I get to the asylum, and that, you know, and that I've committed the only unforgivable sin, which if I go to a fucking asylum anyways, that's basically a win on their part, if you ask me, because I can't fucking stand going to those fucking places. They've stuck me in there before. Because, yes, I've said, yes, the Acacia Strain's making music about me. They're saying the rules of sheep's clothing. People are trying to kill me. I stuck a gun in my mouth on YouTube protesting the drug war, and they stuck me in there saying I was suicidal. You know? So, I told you in a YouTube video, probably not even a fucking week before they stuck me in the asylum, that this is the program. That for what I've said, I go to an asylum. Okay? I told you that. I told you that a week before it even happened. That he's hearing things that when the guy came into my head, it didn't sound like just a voice. It didn't sound like if a guy was standing right next to me. It sounded like a fuzzy radio transmission. Is exactly what it sounded like. A fuzzy radio transmission. I'm not kidding. And it wasn't like in my head or nothing. You know what I mean? When I saw those people coming in my house and I saw the light going through the crack of my door, that wasn't in my fucking head either, because I did it again the night and the light was just pouring through. It wasn't like, oh, maybe I see light. It was pouring through. And then I heard him walk upstairs. It's just fucked up, man. And then the first night when they came out there and tried to kill me, shit. The first night they came out there and tried to kill me, it was basically, you know, it's just the sound of a window breaking as a crowbar breaks it, because it sounded like bong, like bong, like pop bong, like it popped and then it bonged. You know what I mean? And then it was just it didn't last very long. It was that bong noise because it was a wind, because it was like when it broke, that wind, the reverberation of the two pieces, because they broke it right in the middle. And the fucked up part was that then I was sitting back there with my fucking gun waiting for all this shit to go over. When I got back, the window was back. Well, here's the thing. My neighbors, I heard them hear it. Or the husband. But see, he isn't a cop, but his wife is. Well, guess who didn't show up to investigate? The cops didn't show up to investigate. And whenever I went, and whenever it was all said and done, I went down the creek and I went and knocked on the neighbor's window. I knocked on the neighbor's door, and he didn't come. But see, he's a cop too. He didn't come to the door. So I stayed back there for about an hour, but I had my gun on me and stuff, and I don't know, man. It was just... After that, I really did send out some emails where I explained a lot of this shit, and then Alex Jones and fucking Joe Rogan, basically, it just kind of pissed me off because Joe Rogan was like, when I think of aliens, I think of all these civilizations that have collapsed and there's one civilization left. And it's like, dude, I sent you an email where I said this. And this goes back to, you know, all the bizarre behavior that I put off whenever people are trying to fucking kill me and shit. I just regret it. You know, but I don't hold it against myself in hindsight, because finally I feel like I understand, well, I do understand why, you know, because it's just not normal for me to act like that. But, you know, the thing about it is, you know, I'll probably just end up linking that up on the video too and let you see in the fucking email. Because there's other shit that I put in there too that maybe you can see what I'm saying here. But, you know, they basically, you know, when I was in the garage is where it happened, where they told me that I'm Jesus or whatever. And then I went and I sat down. I sat down in front of the Xbox, and I felt my ears started to ring at that moment. And whenever my ears started ringing, I knew I could just feel. I was just like, I can't explain it. It felt like my head was a file cabinet, and somebody was just pulling the files open and just going through everything, you know. And I said, what? I said, what are you doing? I said, you know, I can't remember. I think I said something like, what the fuck are you doing? And that's when they came through and they go, Tanner, what did they say again? They said, Tanner, we know everything. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing. That's how much they know. When you sit down in front of your Xbox, they can go through your mind and determine everything. What you think, what you felt. I feel like I've heard it before. I feel like what they do is they go into your subconscious mind and they basically say something. Like they'll ask a question, basically. So basically it's like if you were in a state of hypnosis. So you're responding back subconsciously. You know what I mean? It's basically like they can hook up your mind to a computer. This is already being done. This is done years ago. And know exactly what you're going to say before you say it. And know what you're going to do before you do it. Because they can go into your mind and determine... they can determine, your thought processes before they, manifest in whatever you physically do or say. Okay? So it's basically like hacking your brain like a computer and going in and seeing the missile fire from the test point instead of, the landing point. You know what I mean? Or seeing the missile fire from the blasting location rather than, I don't know how to explain it, but you basically go into the mind and you can, and this is, I really believe that they do this. I think they go into your head and they're like, they'll just ask you questions like, have you realized anything? What do you know? I mean, I really do. I don't think it would even be that hard to do it, to be honest with you. I think that there's things that go on in your mind all the time. I think there's a totally different conversation being had underneath the surface, where, it's just exactly like hypnosis, man. They go right in there, okay? I don't know how it works. I don't know, the extent of it or how it's being used, but it is there, okay? And I think we should all just kind of expect it because the government's so fucking out of control. And everything's just been consolidated. Everything's been consolidated until basically one company owns everything. If you really look at it, just look at the media. I mean, the music being produced in this country, it used to be about 200 major companies. And then it was down to 20 about 10 years ago, and now 90% of the music in this country is being licensed by one company. One single company. Okay? So whenever you buy a product, there's no way of knowing what the hell it has in it. I mean, you're talking like Queen Elizabeth maybe had the final say, so you don't fucking know what's going on at all. And it's all being done in smoky rooms. It's all being done behind locked doors. And it's a smoky world up there. Okay? They've created shit around us that God only knows what the extent of it is. I even think that, the acacia strain is part of a fucking alien propaganda machine or something. I think they're being controlled. I don't even think probably don't even know what the fuck they're saying half the time. You know what I mean? I think they're fed their lyrics and they go and read them off and they don't know anything about me. They just say what they don't even know to question it. They just think, wow, that sounds really crazy. I guess that's, like identifying a person who, if they met this criteria, man, yeah, they'd be annoying. So I'll attack that concept. But they don't know it's a real person. You know what I mean? I mean, who the fuck knows? But at the end of the day, the way they roll this shit out, and they call me a hero, and then they're supposed to be like this Medusa-like person they talk about in the song Observer by Coma Witch, where she's basically going to put me in this love trance and have me in this state where I can't like eat, or like I basically just die being chained to a bed or something. I mean, it just seems like a Medusa-like person. You know what I mean? And then you get down to it, and I really think that, it's basically like Odysseus. This was one of my final theories. Was it's basically like the whole story of Odysseus. The whole reason it was handed down by mouth is because all the records got burned, or it got passed down verbally. So like that by mouth. So it got passed down verbally, because they just kept burning the records on it. But really, it's about a real story. You know, that's why they kept passing it down verbally, is because, man, you need to know about this shit. This is what they do. They put you on a hero's journey. They tell you you're a hero. A hero's journey. You know, an odyssey. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be a Medusa-like person. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. And so, you know, I mean, they've already told me that I was going to survive, but I wouldn't want to. But now they're telling me they want me dead. So, you know, I don't know if this is, you know, some long-lost alien journey that I'm being put on. But, you know, it does kind of feel like that sometimes. And, you know, at the end, it just feels like basically it's just a big setup. At the end, you know, it feels like it's just a big ceremony. It's like the ceremony of death. It's the ceremony of humankind's demise and ultimate end. Okay? That's what this is. A ceremony of humanity's downfall and humanity's death. Because it's not just about me, but I mean, yes, it is about me. Because if I'm a problem, and another thing too, whenever I went through all those situations where I survived death over and over again, there was 1, 2, 3, Jesus, there was people at the fucking asylum who just immediately filled up the place, had a bunch of tattoos all over themselves, and they were saying, you know, and I asked one of them, I said, "Are you here to kill me?" And he goes, "I can't say." The first thing he said was, "I can't say." And then he immediately goes, "Oh," and he shook his head and he goes, "No." And so, you know, my whole strategy and my whole instinct at that point was just, okay, well, let's be friendly with these guys. And then at one point, we were talking in a meeting, and I gave mention to something that would happen in a robbery type situation, because I've actually been through criminal situations and been on the wrong side of the law. And so maybe this is something they can relate to. And one of them looked at the other one right there and said, "This is a different kind of person," right in front of everybody. And that was just, I knew at that point that they weren't going to kill me. You know what I mean? I knew that they didn't have any intention to, but I didn't think they could anyways, because I was pretty much a little bit, like I had shanks on me and stuff, and they probably could see them, and just, fuck, man, just, you know, it was a bad situation. Okay, but while I was in there, I opened up the Bible to Revelations, and it said, you know, I started reading Revelations, and it was talking about, you know, you've left your first love. You know, I hold this against you that you've left your first love. And that's what really they're talking about in the song Observer. You know what I mean? So the song Observer is all talking about, you know, you've left your first love. Or, you know, talking about trying to play into my mind and talk about my dreams. And they even brought up an old conversation, one of the last conversations that I had with this girl, except they made it even worse. They took the conversation, the first part happened, they added to it. And we're talking about people that have put death threats on my mom, you know, talking about the broken face, her nose had a little break in it and shit like that. Shit's crazy. So, basically, what I think is that once I got to the asylum and I started reading the book, and it's talking about, you know, you've left your first love, I think that's part of the program. See, because at this point, and I'm not going to give names, there's this woman, and she's on Twitter, and she has a headline on her Twitter feed. She's one of the most prominent women in Hollywood that corresponds to my known identity. Okay? As a person, as I've been labeled. Okay? I swear to God. And we're talking in music, we're talking top Billboard charts style music, or the type of style music that you would just look at her and think, wow, she probably listens to this kind of shit. Okay, now, she's really attractive, very beautiful. I made a comment on her page, something to the extent of something political. Okay, now this is me being treated like a guinea pig. I'm being walked into a fucking trap with a woman who's had some kind of subliminal thing out there for me to pick up on. So my fucking sensors are up going, oh, this woman's attractive. This is the Medusa woman. Okay, so I start talking. Oh, shit, this shit's getting crazy. This video's gonna be long. So I start talking to this woman. Make a little Twitter comment, whatever. Well, all of her Twitter comments immediately turn to a sexual nature. So I'm starting to feel like she wants to be with me, but there's just too much of a divide between us. See, that's the kind of shit that makes you bedfast. Just like the fucking song Observer. So anyways, while I'm in this fucking asylum and I'm reading through here about, it says, if you survive these things, okay? If you've survived these things, you've left your first love, if you've survived these things, then I will give you an iron rod that will break apart the nations. Okay, so I'll just tell you this. I made a comment on a Twitter message from like the BBC or something. It was just something that was under the radar, just one of probably dozens of tweets that went out that day on different articles that they've published, overlooked subject, talking about Brexit. Now you know about Brexit now, don't you? Well, guess what? At that point, guess what? Not a subject matter, not a noteworthy subject matter. It then found its way into the mouth of Donald Trump. And you say, Tanner, come on, Donald Trump? Yes, a lot of music being made about my conflicts with Alex Jones, his biggest contributor. And here's the thing. Before there was music made about that, I started to go to YouTube talking about what this guy's up to, lamenting. Whenever I did that, I drove down to the end of the street. I was living where the main street crosses the road, crosses the highway. He was catty-cornered across the street. There was a limo sitting there with blacked out windows, facing across the street where he could face me. The driver looked me directly in my eyes. I don't know who he was. He had red hair and glasses. He looked like he was maybe 28, 30 years old. I can't say. Maybe 35. I can't say. But he looked me straight in the eyes with a smirk on his face when I was the second car back. So yes, I think I've gotten on Donald Trump's radar. Okay, and I think that it's, Donald Trump is a billionaire. Who knows what all kinds of crazy shit he knows about. You're just now hearing about all this shit. About the acacia strain, blah, blah, blah. But people in Hollywood, they fucking know. They know exactly who I am. Okay? And so, when I start putting stuff on the internet, they pay attention to it. He may have had a problem with it. Okay? So, what I'm trying to say is that then became a noteworthy subject. Does that then play into me as to what's going to happen with me? And, who is orchestrating all this shit? You know what I mean? I mean, from what level does this shit come? I don't know, man. I really don't. But I think it's worth talking about. I'm about to run out of batteries here, but, it's just... Jeez. So, basically you'll sit there and say, if an alien was behind all this, and, they have all this advanced technology and all this shit, why not just... You'll say, why don't they just take you into the sky and just, kill you if they have all this advanced technology? But why do it if you don't have to? Because what I'm talking about is a system that's been perfected by time, and I'm not talking 1 million years or 1 billion years or 1 trillion years. I'm talking so many years that we don't even have any comprehension of how many years, okay? And so it's just, you can almost just think just infinity, So, and at the end, they may actually take me up and kill me and eat me or something, because that's what they say in the song Observer. They say there's a monster at the end of it. And then in some of their, newer stuff, they've actually said that I'm going to be devoured. And, they do take cows and stuff, so... I mean, I don't know. I don't know what, I don't even know what this all means. But I'm pretty damn sure it doesn't mean, we love you. Okay? Because, in my opinion, anything that is going to tell you that it's an alien. And I did have one experience one night where I was sitting there and some static came over and I could make out words in the static, and it was basically saying that the phone was hooked up to the speaker, so it could have been somebody screwing with me or something with the CI or something, who knows, but it was basically just a screw with me, but it was basically saying that, we left our planet a long time ago, we need your planet. And I said, well, what's up with the drug war? And they said, well, we want everybody to get on drugs so they can start thinking about, art and shit, and we can enjoy it. And so that's basically what they said, and it was static, and I couldn't really tell you if I know that I was speaking to it and I could make out things in response, but it could have been, it was hard to say as to whether or not it was like, if you look at that cloud, you can see it's an airplane or something, but, maybe it wasn't, but that was different. And what I'm talking about with this other stuff, it's just, this is what I think, I don't think that, I'm prophesizing Jesus' return. If anything, I think it's really kind of suspicious, because anything that tells you everything's going to be okay is very suspicious to me, because definitely the future is undecided and anything can happen. We can set off all the nukes and destroy this world in an instant. So between that and just the whole mechanism of, they said that the Bible says that there will be many who see this. So if it's people that they've targeted for some kind of prominence in some kind of category of knowing things or being of good repute, like a person who's attacked by people who say they're wolves in sheep's clothing, okay, and music that goes super big, in that category of music, specific category. But if that's the whole mechanism of it, hey, he said everything's going to be all right. He said God told him. He saw something. I was on his shit and I heard something. And you know what? I think everything's going to be all right. That's not good. That's a weapon. That's a weapon. That's the best weapon I've ever fucking heard of. One of them. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of shit that really, it's hard for me to even keep thinking about it, because I start thinking about shit like, okay, well, we're fucked. It's just, it doesn't feel like somebody who wants to say, it feels like a Trojan horse of the highest magnitude, because I'm not coming at you, I'm just going to fucking plant that motherfucker and let it do it for me. It feels like a Trojan horse that's basically beyond the need for weapons. It feels like a weapon, but it doesn't feel like, boom, because I'm sure they got something that can do that. So it feels like wow. Okay, you got fucking control, and you don't even need to hit us. That's discouraging, and that's a weapon. So that's where I say that it's hard for me to even keep thinking about all the possibilities of it and all the different ways that it's being used against us, because I don't see it as being friendly, and I damn sure don't see it as being God, because I do believe that I'm supposed to think that. I think that I'm supposed to think this is God, and Jesus is real, and Jesus is coming back. Because about the time that I said that this is all some kind of weapon, and I started to really put it together and put it out there on the internet, that's whenever they said, you're Jesus. Okay? Because it's no longer even, it's not even a viable thing for us to say that anymore. I mean, damn, you got it figured out, man. Yes, it's not God. I know it looked like it, for sure, didn't it? For sure. How the fuck could anything do that? And I don't know. But it just feels like, well, it feels like I'm a mouse and it's a cat playing with me. And at the end of the day, it's just going to do another little thing, you know? And who knows what the fuck it is, you know? But it feels like I'm getting a little bit on it in terms of headway, but not really, you know? I mean, but then again, you know, it does kind of feel like desperation, you know, to put that on me. You know what I mean? But they've already said I'm Jesus in the music, you know? The same people I said I think might be part of an alien operation for all those reasons I gave you. So, fuck if I know, man. I don't fucking know, okay? I wish I had an answer for you. But all I can say is that I think that transparency is definitely an asset, you know, at the end of the day, and letting people know, you know, this is what I see, this is what I think, this is what I... And you know, it causes some alarm. I mean, we have now, since I've put out that video, they've put out a guy who gets paid $200,000 to make sure we don't pollute the universe. You know what I mean? It's like, no. But it seems like a gesture. You know what I mean? It's like a gesture of concern on our behalf. Like, hey, we don't want to fuck up anything. We just kind of, we know we fucked this place up, but we promise not to do it again because we look like a disease right now or whatever. You know, they don't understand how can you be a threat to these things, but the thing about it is that it's the evolution of technology, because we're on a curve right now that's going, it's actually gone from a slant to it's going straight up. And technology is evolving so fast that we can't be allowed to make it to the next level. You know what I mean? Technology's evolved 200,000 times in the last 20 years. That's the last number I've heard. Is slowing down now because everything's getting consolidated and there's not as much competition. But I mean, as far as the threat of it, you know, that's where, you know, it's not going to be, well, we're going to cause pollution in the universe. But I don't think anybody thinks that anyways. I think people are fucking scared, because what I'm saying is starting to make sense, and it's starting to be like, yeah, I don't know why the Bible says that. It is kind of weird. You know what I mean? You're going to be taken into the universe. There's not going to be any more husbands and wives. I mean, it sounds like a big enslavement ceremony where you're going to be sucked into the sky and neutered. You know, I mean, they probably at least give some credence to that, you know. But then when they think about everything else I've said, I don't know what they think, you know. But I can only tell you what I saw. If you do take me seriously, then I would say that it's probably going to be pretty fucking alarming, because what the fuck? You know, what the actual fuck? You know what I mean? But I think it's interesting, and I would like to know more, you know. But I have a feeling that before we get to that point, we're probably going to be fucking exterminated. So, anyways.